Hello, Grey Couch family. This is Stanley and
Otito.
And we're welcoming you to another one of our relational
Mythbusters.
Busters. We want to explore.
Still talking about dynamics, though. Marital dynamics.
Still talking about that. But the concept of compatibility, is it overrated? Is it overrated? Is it underrated? What say ye?
I think it's overrated.
I am akin to agree. So for
sustaining a marriage, that
okay.
is, right? Because when we're getting married, we want to know, how compatible are we, right? Are we compatible or not? And, that's all well and good because we need to ensure that we are getting
the
value.
goods. Oh, sorry, the value.
You're getting value for this long-term binding relationship, right? That's the idea. And that, we'll live happily ever after. But then after marriage, you hear quite a few people saying, relationship cannot be saved due to irreconcilable differences or the fact that we're just not compatible, right? And so the question now becomes, what happened to compatibility? What happened to it?
And I think even I think the question that begs to me is that what weight are we placing on compatibility?
Is it worth it, right? And is it something that is able to bear the brunt of changing life seasons, right? Yeah, the ups and downs. And I think that's something that people who have maybe mid-season to later on will tell you that life happens, right? There's ups, there's downs, there are things you just never ever imagined or talked about when you were getting married, right? When you were planning to get married, never imagined that scenario, but then what happens? Right?
I think when we say we're no longer compatible, what we're talking about is like a general dissatisfaction in the marriage, and I feel like, what exactly is compatibility? And if you want to remember back in the day, as in when people, we used to call them arrangee.
It's still happening.
We used to call it like arrangee marriage. Romance was not a question, romance wasn't really a thing, and it worked out, So the question now comes, okay, now that we have choice, we have romance in this, why can't we have the best of both worlds?
Yeah. So, but if you remember that, I guess people change, right?
Yeah.
They grow, they evolve, whether they're aware of it or not. I just feel like sometimes people don't even know that they're changing because of their exposure to different, environmental situations, different cultures, as it were, right? So for us, we always talk about this idea, we came from one culture, we came into another, and you can't say that you haven't been influenced by it. And so the
Social
question
pressures
then becomes, should you then place all that weight on compatibility across the seasons, right? So people change, and the idea is that you don't want to place the burden of your differential. So the truth is, compatibility comes and goes like a sine wave, right?
Wave.
I know, right? Let me be the scientist here. A sine wave, and there's no relationship we think that the persons in it are compatible all the time. The only difference with a marriage relationship is that depending on how both of you consider your vows taken, right, till death do us part. We generally don't or will not ghost each other or disappear from each other's lives, just like that, like we will do with certain friendships. Because the compatibility thing applies to, platonic relationships as well. Yeah. But in that one, you can just move on. But the question with marriage, if you're thinking this is going to be a long-term relationship, then you can't just move on, right?
I think maintaining a good relationship should not be about solely about being compatible all the time, but rather about being able to manage our differentials and this sine wave, the peaks and the troughs, as some people want. Sometimes people in organizational development will tell me it's adaptability,
right? 21st century skill. We're always looking for this, and so I always say this. I said it in our book, and I'm still saying that I think of the marriage and the home as a microcosm of an organizational unit, right? And so the question is, how do we then develop and grow adaptability muscles, right, so that we can ensure that unit is keeping up with the times and the seasons, right?
So the myth buster is compatibility overrated? And yes, it is.
Yeah.
At least for a marriage. Because
Continuous compatibility, that is, right? Because we talk about the sine wave. Not saying it's not important for you to enter the relationship, but to sustain it over time, right?
and also that concept that is the reason why the marriage goes AWOL is because you are no longer compatible,
Yeah.
and then some studies have even shown that focusing on whether or not you're compatible in itself could be an issue.
Yeah.
So you stray away from the issues at hand, the challenges at
solving
hand,
it,
and you're more
fixated
worried about
on compatibility.
fixated is the word, yeah.
Right, like you're fixated on, we're no longer the same, we've grown apart, as opposed to maybe teasing out what really is the issue right here, as opposed to a general, covering everything, as it were, with one brush.
And this societal myth is an issue because you think, people in good relationship or good marriages are so compatible. That's why they are doing as good as they are, not realizing that they have their peaks
ups and downs
and valleys,
and
sine waves.
They've just learned how to manage differences through different seasons, right?
Yeah.
Because each season will come up with its own
Challenge.
issue or challenge, and if you were to look at it from each person's perspective, it could lead to a clash of minds, and which you say, clash of values, clash of compatibility, but perhaps that's not what it is, right? So yeah.
So you heard it from here first, or maybe second, I don't know. But let's not make compatibility such continuous compatibility. Let me preface that. Such a big deal. Up, you're down, you have challenges, you have peaks, you have troughs, but walking through it will keep the relationship going. And not just marriage relationship though.
I know, right?
Well, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys again later. Bye.
Bye for now.